Hello everyone, welcome to the 97th episode of our first run as the artist through Book of Hours. I seem to recall we were going to be working on some curses in the next little while, but on the housekeeping front I just wanted to say I'm recording this the week that I'm starting a new job, and the last few days at my old job wound up being quite difficult. I'm hoping I left things in good shape for everyone, but it did involve sort of an all-nighter, and I'm recovering from that. So both this episode and then just generally everything this week, I'm trying to get everything recorded, but I'm also trying to make sure that I am rested and ready to go for the next week. Otherwise, though, I'm sort of hoping that I'll find an equilibrium again, and there won't be too many interruptions to the stream, and hopefully the quality won't drop too much. Let's take a minute here and see what we're up to. So first of all, we have got the offer for the messenger awaiting her destination. Now, this isn't something I can really read right now. I think we talked previously about the fact that there's sometimes some value in picking up books like that, because, you know, one way I sort of think of it is that the books that you don't pick up at times like these wind up being books you sort of wish you had bought at that time when you've, exhausted the whole library and, your skills are up and things like that. I'm definitely at that point on the stream playthrough. But the thing is that there is actually something else that I can do with the Spintria, with the tally value. So I don't have all of the languages yet, and taking up all 5 Spintria for the purposes, especially in spring at the start of the year, that sort of that means that my language opportunities aren't necessarily there. And then of course, any of the other, really it's languages and buying books are the things I'll want to do with Spintria, but you can see why this might be something I'm reluctant to take advantage of. So we'll leave that aside. And I'll confess, I'm not 100% sure on what I was going to do about trying to open up a few different rooms. I think I do actually need a couple more things to tilt in my favor. And then I don't believe I have any books which are on the, okay, this is definitely something I should try pile. So perhaps I want to start thinking about some of the risks I might be willing to take with things like the radical measure. I think the radical measure is probably my most likely entry. So we have 2 FET, which is already an improvement for us. Basically, it means we can put 1 in, and then we might be able to rely on another 2 for the supplementary challenges. The only problem is my Rose is pretty weak. Yeah, it looks like Path and Pilgrim's my best bet here. So we can really muster up 5. At which point, I'm essentially relying on being able to get all 3 of the entries. So, I don't know. Obviously, Rose is not the only one I can work with, but it does seem to be something that's a bit more challenging than... Oh, actually, sorry. The other thing I should think about is the use of inks. So I don't recall if I have any Rose ink. There is definitely a powerful Rose ink that you can make, but that is itself a bit of a challenge. So, there is a bit of sense in trying to plot out where we take our future rooms. I guess we don't know what the weather is yet, but I think maybe for starters we'll rely on Mrs. Kill. I don't think we're going to try specifically for a room today, so Mrs. Kill's mood always improves when I drop by. If you don't choose a topic, Mrs. Kill will offer help as a friend. And when I reviewed, so I was just thinking here, I think I had some notes with regards to the curses that I've got. So we had, was Keeper Skin? Yeah, so Keeper Skin is 7 Nectar. Now that one I'm not 100% sure if I know how to handle it. Chionic Theoplasma, I do actually believe is one that we would be able to handle. Gospel of Zacchaeus needs knock, so that one I'm a little less certain on. Oops. And also the witch worms, I was feeling, again, I don't know if it's something I want to give up on, but it's one of these things where I don't have an immediate, okay, yeah, I'm totally going to knock that one out of the park. But I think when it comes to the heart things, I should probably make an effort with those. So let's just take a quick second here. I need to get my bearings. So I think probably the Barrowchild's Elegies would be the best place to... Well, maybe not. Yeah, Barrowchild's Elegies makes sense. So we'll start with that. So this book has suffered the attention from one of the chilly names or hours, perhaps even a god from nowhere. This contamination can affect your tryst and health and spread to nearby objects. You can remove it with a skill that's effective against theoplasmic contamination and at least 7 heart. So the first thing that we might want to do is actually find the... wait, that won't work. I do actually need to find the skill that has it. Quenchings and Quellings is probably the one I want to use, actually. Okay, so we've got 5 to work with here. Let's say we do that at Natan's desk. Now, in addition to the fact that the curse spreads to health, now I don't really think that would affect us if we were getting rid of the curse, but as it happens, Core gives us more to work with anyway. So we are left with a need for 2 heart memory, which we wouldn't get through the sun's weakness. And then we would need to add the kitchen bowls. But you know what? That is something I can manage. So what we will do, I'm going to get a couple of heart items. Now, one thing I could also do is try to bring a thunderstorm in, but I don't think we need to worry too much about that. In this case, I think a simple solace will do the trick. So I usually read Traveling at Night Volume 2, but let's do the Orchid Transfigurations for this one. Alright, Heart Unceasing. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. So if we wind up in the middle of a storm... Well, first of all, if we wind up in a storm, maybe I want to think about where, what rooms I want to move into. I don't think there's anything Heart that we need to worry about, but, storm is still a powerful weather that you want to keep an eye on. Well, we do have a call for Sky. I just don't think we can deliver the rest of the Sky. Although maybe the Screaming Summit might be something we can do something with. Okay, so we've got... so even if we wind up with a storm, I'm just going to have another core with which I can open up get rid of the curse. For the other elements of the soul, well, actually, you know what? Let's just work out what other things that I can do. So I seem to recall there was one that needed moon, and I think that's one that we might be able to make something of. Okay, so we wouldn't really be able to read the book, but 7 moon against a corruption. Six here. We need 1 from the tryst, so that's 7. Oh, well, there we go. Okay, yeah, so we can actually get rid of this one right away. So let's, nope, not the Vagabond desk, the Reading Room desk. Okay, so the last ones I would need would be Nectar, Knock, and Winter. And I think, well, okay, we'll do the work. For Knock, we need to worry about the Synthic Taint. I don't even remember which one would be used to clear that one out. Probably not Serpents and Venoms, but... Well, actually, let's go for infestations. So resurgences and emergences would help us with infestations, but the infestation we are worrying about needs Winter. So surgeries and exsanguinations... Oh, Snow Stories. Nope. Hill and Hollow. Okay. So what I'm noticing here is a lack of Winter. So what that will mean, unless I've somehow misplaced one, I need to bring all of my own winter. So with that, we can bring a whist. We could bring... Okay, so the whist brings me 2. We'd use up the skill slot. I suppose I could use something like the wolf snow ampule. But yeah, I mean, it means I'm giving something... no, hang on. I'd also need a slot where I can put a book, so the wolf snow wouldn't work there. I would actually have to use an ink in that case. Yeah, so let's say that winter is one that I'm gonna have a think on. The knock, I think we've got a similar story about curses. Yeah, so we've got Tridesma Hyra, which helps me with curses. We've got a few of those, but none of them that directly work with knock. Okay, so that's another one that I need a bit of a think on. And then I suppose it comes back to the old, the same question with nectar, right? We've got our, we do have something that works against corruptions, but I don't know if we have a nectar thing that works against corruptions. Currently, it's being used. So, all right. Well, we'll work with that. I mean, I don't need to solve it all right away. It seems clear to me that the low-hanging fruit has been dealt with. So let's make a little money in the sweet bones, fixing and mending. There's not much work on offer in Brancrude, but I can find 6 worth of odd jobs. And my favorite, honestly, would be to try and find a book to read. So for the Kukurbit prisoner records, I guess Coil and Chasm's the best that we can bring in here. So that would be 5. We could go up to 9 with the old moment. If I got 2 old moments, then we might be somewhere. So maybe that'll be over a couple of days kind of project. Yeah, I think probably I need to make some progress. So let's work with what we've got right now. And if I find... Okay, well, we've got an extra nectar to work with if I am so inclined. Mrs. Gill stands ready to help. You always cheer me up, she says morosely. Mrs. Gill has seen more of the world than she usually lets on. Conversations with her yield the occasional surprise. Okay, so basically, what I'm kind of doing with Mrs. Gill right now is farming up a bunch of memories. I've carried the memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. This will complete once dawn has come. Okay, so I completely forgot that I was saving that, but that helps me recover the next book. I obviously need to wait for the skill to come back, so I'm not gonna do that right now. But the big thing right now is I don't have... So I'd like to get the old moment at some point, but we have more time in the day. So right now I'm just gonna see what memories come up, and then I can decide what the next step is based on what we have here. But today's going to be a little bit of a calmer day in terms of activities in the house, just because I'd like to see what I can do with the resulting books. All right, there it is and can be no tizzer. Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but there's scant trace of the continent in her accent now. One of the things that I'm going to be contending with for the next little while are, so a little bit like rooms. So rooms, I have some options in terms of people that I can hire or have the probability of hiring that can improve my chances of opening certain rooms. Or, well, they can open the rooms, and it's the probability that makes it improving my chances. Likewise with books. So there's the memories that I have immediate access to. Then there are higher level memories depending on some of the things that I sort of talk with and interact with. And then following that, there are, so like there's the memories that I'd craft maybe, let's say. And of course those can also become inputs which maybe can craft even more powerful things. So some of this is just a question in terms of deciding like what set of problems am I willing to take on at any given time. Oh, you know what? I don't think I actually did clean up that book. All right, a little silly of me, but fair enough. The Orchid Transfigurations, Noon, a third volume of a compilation of quasi-Rosicrucian allegories, supposedly by Robert Flood. This is in the original Latin. A long dialogue between the Mountain Mother and the Vigilant Storm describes the ways in which both mountains and storms end and the protections they use against those ends. But we must use the knife, said the lion-throned one, the noose, the flame, the waking word, against those who have passed the three-valve door. So none may pass. That is our law and the law of the sun. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So I'm just going to go back to the cycle here. It is spring and the landlady has served me a slice of her stargazy pie with the pilchard heads poking cheekily through the hot crust. And there have been many theories about what Winkwell is and why, but the velvet is an hour of secrets, and if we question her too closely, she might withdraw her protection. So again, I'd love to read The History of Inks, but that is one of the more difficult books in my collection right now, so we'll, I guess we'll have to move Nin's Cages onto the shelf. Okay, let's catch up on the hard books I wanted to read. The DeWolf method, attenuate chionic theoplasma. The DeWolf method, some credit it to Gideon, others to Ava. Their tizzin can be no tizzer. Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but there's scant trace of the continent in her accent now. Now, if I need, I figure I can bring specific memories out through the FET, because I think we more or less decide that I won't be reading any of the Rose texts, although we're close. In fact, we're close enough that I'm going to spend some time with the Beastie. So, Stimfling, Ava DeWolf taught her father Valentine how to hatch these silvery little villains, but he never learnt to like them. Time with the Beastie. Add a soul card to interact with the beast. Offer this beast my company. Who knows? Perhaps it will offer something in return. So we're at the halfway point of the day. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make anything with the Barachild's elegies, but we can give it a shot. The problem with a direct approach to theoplasmic attenuation is that if we call on any of the hours, we may end up theoplasmed worse than when we started, so we need to go carefully. So just taking a look here, with 10 winter we've got our Whist. In theory we would also apply quenchings and quellings, so yeah, that is a piece of cake for us to read, but that would also mean that we give up fixing our books, so I'm going to skip on that for today. There we go. Attenuate chionic theoplasma, the DeWolf method, some credit it to Gideon, others to Ava. So that's another minute spoken for, better now, and we'll continue to make money in the sweet bonus. So I'll have a little bit of follow-up work to do with, getting something for the Stimfling to eat, but I think it'll be worth it when you see what comes out the other end. Trying to think too. I haven't really been spending a whole lot on generating certain higher level memories, and I think maybe I should be taking some time doing that. So for instance, the Edicts Martial, there's a couple of things that I could make without too much difficulty. And now it suggests a meal would be welcome. So for that, we get a horizon sight. Horizon sight. On a clear autumn day, the story goes, you can see Ys from the Watchman's Tower. I don't know whether that's true, but on a clear day in Numa, you would see the city unbuilt. Dr. Brian Levinson. So this is a 4 rows memory, and it's a persistent memory, which means I don't need to put any effort into preserving it. So as you can see, this is the sort of thing that would help us handle the radical measure. In fact, we might even be able to do it now. It is a little late in the day for it, so I might be reluctant to start it now, although I might read it overnight. So, we got Path and Pilgrim. Oh, well, now I know how to make a salt sign. So yeah, we're 1 short, but then we would add the lunar globe. Excuse me. Ah, and now I know how to make an enduring reflection. Okay, yeah, so I think that's a pretty decent little... It's a pretty decent little combination. I'm not going to do that right now, but I am going to set it aside. Let me just take a look at what flowers I've got. And I think the one I want is in summer. Yeah. Okay. How do I want to do this? In fact, if this is where we're at, so if I know I can read a 10 without trouble, then a 12 should go on the... a 12 should probably go on the... I can read pile. Okay, looking a bit better. I'm gonna hang on to my Fet for a little while, but let's get an egg. So, Tuppence or Terrence? It's always a tricky question. Let's start with Terrence. Was this magnificent and indomitable beast named for the rector's indomitable and magnificent housekeeper? Best not to inquire too closely. Offer this beast my company. Who knows? Perhaps it will offer something in return. The problem with a direct approach to theoplasmic attenuation is that if we call upon any of the hours, we may end up theoplasmed worse than when we started, so we need to go carefully. With that, we've got a 12 moon text to read. I'm not 100% sure if that's within my power. Let's see. So we've got 8, 9, 10, and then we add a memory for 12. So yes, the Black Book of Brittany is on the list. So as you can see here, right, from the simple question of, you know, I think maybe it's time for me to find a new place for this canvas. You know, I've said that, but what's the obvious candidate? Like this is a good place. Actually, you know what? There's a couple things I can do to rearrange. Yeah, so even something simple like saying, okay, well, we're going to get rid of some curses right now. So again, I've always got this kind of struggle in terms of asking, you know, when do I want to sort of crack and hire some of the more difficult to find people? You know, my answer is usually, okay, well, when I feel like I've run out of things to do. But you can see that, you know, it doesn't actually take a whole lot to suddenly push your playthrough to another set of things that you didn't previously have access for. So with the simple decision to get rid of curses, we've got 2 more texts that I can read, and then talking with the Stimfling, or just simply getting access to the Stimfling if you know what what the Stimfling gives you. That's opened up, you know, 2 books. One is guaranteed, the other has, you know, some pretty significant potential. So, now again, this is one of the more expensive things that I can do in terms of getting the Horizon Sight, because it means that I tie up my talk verm once to talk to the Stimfling, once to talk to the chicken, and then once to feed the Stimfling, and then of course another, you know, move to feed the chicken. In fact, it would be a good idea for me to get some vegetables to replace. Oop, the earth is quiet, not barren, only sleeping. Harvesting is possible in a different season. What about grapes? And now it suggests a meal would be welcome. And we need the soul card again. So I think in this case we will use our whist. Satisfy this creature's appetite. Food will make a hungry beast or a wild one cooperative. Then of course we'll feed resentful Terrence as well. Cluck, cluck! And hungry Stimfling hissing avidly. Better now. Alright, so we'll get some money from the sweet bones. This is the point where I want to use any of my remaining elements of the soul for productive tasks. I could probably feed the chicken. So we could use the shaft for that. But if I can, it would be nice to try and either turn the rain into something or to... Well, you know what? Let's see if I can make something with Rose. So my best option here would be to use the grand piano. I say that because I have the gossip, but also the intuition. So now I mean, again, I do have the fet, but I have... Well, actually, you know what? We'll use the... I'm going to keep the fet aside here. I'm not actually going to use it, but I'll at least use this to get an idea of what I can craft. So the salt sign I don't see having any immediate use for me. Actually, if I'm exploring, then Horizon Sight is not an omen. We've got 10, but I... Hang on. Sand stories with Prentice level Rose create salt sign, or for a scholar level recipe, if I trace the sign with a light, I can wring a rosy essence from the air. Okay, so I would need to have some kind of light attached to it, which I probably have the capability for, but let's not worry. Let's not worry too much about that right now. This is just purely for exploration. Okay, so we can get a confounding parable. Now that's not too exciting for us because we already know how to get a confounding parable from a book. Preliminal meter, another confounding parable, fair enough. Although, did it... If I bring in another memory... Oh, right, because I don't have the extra rows here. Lockworks and Clockworks is not a rose. Okay, more salt signs. So basically, nothing too exciting is the answer here. Well, here's the Enduring Reflection. Now, that is only when I'm using the Horizon Sight, so I gotta be careful about that, but... Okay. I have an idea then. But it's not for today. Fair enough. Okay. For the remaining day then, let's use the... I'll make a witching tisane. Actually, I don't even need the rain for that. Fair enough. Actually, let's see if there's maybe something better I can do with Grail. We do not yet have Grail 10 for this thing. If I soak fabric in a brew. Okay. Not quite ready to try that. This is also Ruby. I think we've learned the recipes for Ruby Wise Rune. Okay, you know what? I don't need to think too heavily about this. Let's just make the Witching Tisane. I suppose now would be the question, or no, we'll use the Shap to make more money, and then I'm going to use the Fet momentarily. Oh wait, no, I think I was going to use the Fet to feed the chicken. So I'm actually down 1 in terms of money I could have made. Alright, a full belly makes a helpful friend. This beastie is now inclined to cooperate. So we're not ready to talk to the chicken yet, Terrence. I figure this should probably be enough time, so let's take the Vagabond desk. So one question you might ask is, why am I bothering to do this now? Normally I try to keep, things, I try to finish everything before the night starts. The exception in this case is that I don't have a whole lot of uses for Fet. Normally Fet would be, doing something like feeding an animal or, basically just kind of side tasks that I don't assign too much weight to. And in this particular case, I don't have anything really for the Fet to do. And then on top of that, having the Fet down, like if I think about what happens tomorrow, well, I would read this book first thing tomorrow. So my Fet's already going to be occupied with the same task. The difference is that reading this through the night means that in the morning I'm going to be able to have just the memory and know exactly what I'm looking for. So I don't do this frequently, but this is kind of a nice way of making sure that if it's something I haven't really been making that much use of, it's just a nice little way of putting me in a slightly better position for the following day. So we are reading The Radical Measure, a manifesto for experimental and dangerous sounding invocatory poetry, written sometime in the 19th century by Dr. Aaron Peel, a notoriously inconsistent and incoherent text, apparently produced in a tearing hurry. And I think that will be the point where we wrap things up. I will let the timer run by while I feed the beastie and such, but the main plan, sorry, it's best when it's warm, but it'll keep. I have a feeling, yeah, actually I'm gonna have to put this on pause, otherwise I'm just gonna wind up playing the game for the rest of the day. Pluck the grapes from the vine, let's work through the queue. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Alright, so the plan is, a lot of today was setting up for kind of how the rest of the week will be dealt with. When I say the rest of the week, I really do mean for the videos. Because when it comes down to it, I've got one book that I'm reading already. I've got at least one that I'm capable of reading without any other interventions, and chances are Barrowchild's Elegies and Radical Measure are also available to me without too much difficulty. So, and then from there, that just means that there's a bunch of skills and memories to improve. And from that, it may turn out that we have even more to work with. So for instance, if I get a slight boost towards some of my rows, this might mean that suddenly I feel a little more confident to handle the History of the Shadowless King and the History of Inks. But all of that, I think probably at this point I want to start handling them as they emerge, because I do also have these other rooms that I want to check out when opportunities present themselves. But that is more or less how I think the week's going to shape up. I am glad that I at least took the time to take a look and see what those curses, or what my possibilities with curses were, because I probably wouldn't have read those books for quite some time otherwise. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. As a reminder, on Tuesday there is no video online, and again, hopefully with the new job I can actually get back to recording the thing that normally would be on Tuesday. But I will be back Wednesday, and then for the rest of the week to continue our first run as the artist through Book of Hours. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.